Serious, recovered depressives of Reddit. What happened that lifted you out of depression? Antidepressants. Therapy. Reading philosophy. Time. Lots of work. And removing negative people from my life. Is depression something people can recover from? Yes, it can happen. I feel like my depression will always be with me, but I now know how to control it. My friend sent me this quote and it stuck with me. I have learned that when sadness comes to visit me, all I can do is say I see you. I spend some time with it, get up, and say goodbye. I don't push it away, I own it. And because I own it, I let it go. Zoloft gave me the stability to pursue the lifestyle changes, exercise, socializing, getting my crap together, etc. that would then sustain that stability. Medication, therapy, and going to college. High school was stressful for me partly because I had depression and anxiety issues going into it, but resisted getting help until 10th grade, and my relationship with my sister, who was not well liked in high school, caused me a lot of anger and anxiety. Going to college got me away from her, away from people who were unkind to me, and into a program where I was learning what I wanted to learn. I wasn't the always sad kind of depression. I was angry a lot. If I was sad or angry, the feeling would linger for days and I would wake up in the morning just feeling like crap. Depression definitely has physical effects. I worried a lot about what other people were doing and what people thought of me, and was convinced at times that things would not get better. I never lost interest in my favorite activities though. I feel like depression is something you can recover from in the sense that you can get your emotions back to a normal range. However, being depressed in adolescence makes you more likely to experience postpartum depression and regular depression later in life. I feel like it still lingers in me somewhere and could come back up if a situation triggers it. Started working on a better future instead of focusing on my failures in the past and present. Someone told me I was using my depression as a crutch, an excuse for why I wasn't where I wanted to be. It was my get out of responsibility card. It was my reason I didn't have to change because I had a mental illness label and an RX that made it okay to be passive and self-hating. It was my justification for every decision I made to not do something to better myself. I can't. I'm manic depressive. That comment about it being my crutch was sobering. I picked myself up, dusted myself off, and made strides towards my dreams again. Found healthier community, applied to college and started 4 months later. Paid my bills on time. Stopped comparing myself to whom I should have been and focused on who I wanted to become. Got more exercise. I basically surprised myself with my own awesomeness, one day at a time. But it took some tough love from a friend for me to realize I was hiding behind it and giving it too much power. Getting out of a crap job was the biggest thing. The biggest trigger for my real lows was crappy, sexually harassing customers and a crappy boss who took his marital problems out on me. From there, I had time to write more and realize that writing really helped when I felt down. Best part? I've become a career writer. My latest novel came out last week. Medication and cognitive behavioral therapy. I think that's the going treatment, and the behavioral could mean moving 250 miles away. CBT is a big thing I've found out about today. Sounds really helpful. It's usually a joke on Reddit, but deleted Facebook, and Twitter, and Instagram, and all other social media. Took more walks, cut off toxic friends, moved to a new city. Is depression something people can recover from? With absolutely no scientific backing to this other than my own experience, I'm going to say yes, but that it's not something necessarily dependent on the depressed person trying hard enough, and there's a lot of lucky timing involved. I think I'm only lucky that changing my circumstances at the time that I did helped me out of depression. If I had done it later or earlier, I don't know that things would have turned out as well. I deleted my Facebook as well. I spent too much time there getting reminded of things and people in the past that made me so sad. Deleting my social media accounts was the first step I took in digging myself out of a hole. Still digging and hoping. Therapy, including medication, as well as getting my life in order. That having been said, I doubt I will ever recover from my depression. I'll always be at risk of a relapse. See, that's what scares me. It will always stay with me, lurking around a corner and waiting to attack again. A few weeks ago I realized this is a part of me, and not a phase or a period of time. And the fact that I have to live with this forever, I don't know if I can. I don't want to die, but it's really hard to live or to have moments of happiness. I started talking. I had counseling and therapy. I started to accept the things I couldn't change and the things that had happened weren't my fault. I started to love myself and enjoy my own company. I told myself you're a good person and people are lucky to have you as a friend because it's true. I stopped relying on people. I started sticking up for myself. I know I'm so much better because I don't rely on having a partner. It doesn't justify my self-worth. Recently broke up with my boyfriend who I'd just moved in with, and 2 years ago I'd have been distraught. I'd have died, or felt like dying. Now all I am is relieved and happy. I don't need to stay in a relationship which doesn't fulfill my needs out of fear of loneliness. I don't need to stay friends with crappy people because I worry no one will like me. I'm a freaking awesome person. It took a long time to get here, but Jesus, it's been worth it. I go to sleep happy and excited at the day I've got ahead instead of crying myself to sleep wishing I could just die in my sleep. I look forward to life. Wow, I love reading your comment. Just wanted to say that. Prozac seems to be the only thing that kind of works for me. I guess before the Prozac I was self-medicating with MDMA. Taking it twice a month seemed to pull me out of very severe long-term depression. I wouldn't agree with trying MDMA. For me personally it has the opposite effect. 4 to 5 hours of euphoria, 3 days of extreme sadness. I wouldn't say that I'm recovered yet, but I'm on the way. 1 year ago I was at a job I hated, living with my parents and abusive brother. Now I'm in my first week at a salary job with benefits and awesome co-workers. I'm buying a car this weekend, and looking to move out of my toxic family environment in April. It starts as slow steps. I can't say what the first couple were for me, but the big one was starting an antidepressant that actually works for me. That was in June of last year. Alan Kruger said once a small win has been accomplished, forces are set in motion that favor another small win. That has been exactly what has happened with me. I've focused on small steps and finally, a few weeks ago, I got a big win with this job offer. Recovery? No. Control? Massively. I feel like my depression will always be there, looming like a shadow, but I know how to control it nowadays, without resorting to some of my more harmful techniques of old. It's like in a horror movie when there is a shadow-like specter looming over the protagonist. When I was at the worst of my depression, that specter would have been all over me, but now I have ways to make it dissipate. TLDR. You will always have days where you feel close to your worst, but you can beat those days. Seriously, I can't advise this for most people, but I ate shrooms. 2 weeks later I tried LSD. After LSD I decided to stop smoking marijuana and really focus on my life. Almost immediately it felt as though I was a new person. Worked for me and I am now beginning my master's degree in accounting. Life is certainly strange. I've ridden this particular pony a few times now. For me, it was getting a bike, getting out, exercising, seeing the sun. Even in the depths of winter this helps. Advice with a pun. Great stuff. I keep meaning to get a bike. I wish I had a job within bike commuting distance, to be honest. Suffered from depression for years now. The only thing that lifts me out of it, or restores some sort of self-worth, is having a partner, someone to share my life with and look after. I know this isn't healthy. I'm just not the hump and dump kind of guy. I just work better in a unit, you know. This doesn't mean I go and start relationships with anyone. I've been single for 6 months now, and I can't wait to find someone that likes me for me, and will get to enjoy me as a partner. Making someone else happy simply makes me happy. Diagnosed with severe manic depression, and my daughter saved my life. I've posted this before, but here's the story again. Long story. I was diagnosed with severe manic clinical depression due to a chemical imbalance in my brain. Basically, I had real issues and was suicidal. I was in the middle of a rough patch and realized that my life insurance policy was worth more money than I could make in 10 years, and it occurred to me how much better off my family would be if I just died. So I was sitting in my house's spare bedroom, which I used for a home office, and I was trying really hard to figure out how I could kill myself and make it look like an accident. The door opened, and in walked my then 9-year-old daughter. I wasn't ready to be a father way back when I married her mother. She was already a year and a half old when we started dating, but I thought I could handle it. I made a lot of really dumb mistakes, but I can honestly say I always had the best intentions at heart. I was just young and stupid and didn't have any great role models myself. So in walks my little girl. "What's the matter, Daddy?" she asked. "Daddy doesn't feel well," I said, and that little girl climbed up in my lap and kissed my cheek. She had every reason in the world to be angry with me, to hold grudges, to expect me to know what I was doing as a father, but she, for whatever unknown reason, still loved me. I'm not her father. I'm just the lucky butthole who stepped in and married her mother. I broke down into tears. I cried for about an hour non-stop, and that one moment gave me the thought that changed my life. No matter how bad of a frick up I am, this little girl loves me. No matter how many mistakes I make, this little girl loves me. I have a job, a wonderful wife, a home, a car, and I can put food on the table and pay the bills. My life's not so freaking bad. That one moment helped me more than any psychotherapist ever did. Since then, my daughter has grown up and moved out. My youngest daughter is still reaping the benefits of that epiphany. My wife passed away in August of 2013, which sent me into a downward spiral. But the day my daughter saved my life still resonates with me, and I keep reminding myself, my life's not so damn bad. Changed my life. Saved my life. Now, my youngest can pull me out of a funk. My girlfriend can pull me out. Music can pull me out. Riding my motorcycle can help. But without that first save provided by my oldest, there would be nothing. I wouldn't be here. So, here I am. My oldest daughter is 23. My youngest is 14. I'm a 43-year-old widower, and I've had some seriously dark days. But that day still comes back for me. I'm employed. I can pay my bills. My children love me. I have a girlfriend. My life is not so damn bad. I have to tell myself that almost every morning to make myself get up out of bed. But once I do, it's easier to get the day going. Stop smoking weed. Start taking vitamin D supplements. Might not cure your depression, but it will do you a heck of a lot of good. Funny one, the weed thing. I'm not a smoker myself. I'll have it very occasionally in the right environment. To put it into context, I'll usually go a whole year and then only have a couple of drags at the end of the night. Some people think it cures it, some think it causes it. I think it is a coping mechanism, but then once people come round, the problems re-emerge. Writing, therapy, and music. Nothing like writing how you feel while listening to your favorite music. Also, being able to have a great therapist is helpful. If you have the patience, meditation is great. I had lingering depression since I was about 13 because I didn't like being a boy, but then, after college, I got into a terrible destructive relationship that left me feeling hollow, and then I lost my father, and for the next year and a half, I was basically a shell of myself. I cut out people. I gained a ton of weight. In November 2013, at a friend's persistence, I accepted my own gender dysphoria and started to embrace the idea of transitioning. I started coming out to friends and rebuilding bridges. I lost all the weight I gained, and then some. 2014 was the first year I ever felt truly happy with myself, my life, and my place in this world. Glad you found your true self. We have a local radio DJ called Stephanie, used to be Simon Hurst, who is going through the same. I can't say I understand it, as I suppose I'm comfortable being male and can't imagine it being different other than it'd be pretty fun for a day, but I fully respect your right to happiness in life. 1. A regular sleep schedule, even on weekends, did more for me than therapy or antidepressants. This is hard. 2. A job I like, with a positive environment. 3. Hobbies. For me it's reading and RPGs. It took 3 months of commitment to expand my social circle and have fun with RPGs. 4. Knowing when to get help. It's hard to describe, but if I feel myself sliding into major depression I do not hesitate to get back on antidepressants and therapy. None of these are easy, and they all take a few months to work. But if you're committed to overcoming sadness it's worth it. 100 milligrams of sertraline and overcoming my phobia of driving really boosted my confidence. Also being diagnosed with OCD also helped me understand what crazy crap my brain was up to. I had been clinically depressed for 3 years and finally after not being able to get out of it I went to see the doctor for a new medication. I had recently quit my awful, stressful, crappy job and was trying to do better. I had a mental breakdown and my parents ordered almost 22-year-old me to go see a new counselor. So I wanted to prove I wasn't useless and drove out to the mental health clinic the next day and made an appointment with a guy with 80s glasses named Mr. Lee. I started medicine and began making weekly apps with Mr. Lee. But most importantly, I got a new job at his suggestion. I began to work at Walgreens, who he mentioned he knew was hiring. I began work as a pharmacy tech, despite not having done pharmacy work before. That sounds trivial, but my co-workers actually made me feel competent when I learned something and praised me, and I slowly began to feel good about myself. If it wasn't for them I truly think my recovery would have been a lot slower. They helped me to love myself again when I truly hated myself and thought I was worthless. Now I am able to live daily life again and am well balanced. It's amazing. I consider myself in a constant state of recovery instead of healed or cured because I believe that if I let my guard down it might come back, and I will not become that person ever again. The pain I felt was nothing like any other pain. Something as simple as being able to feel competent at work was what in the end truly helped me to recover. Please remember that reaffirmation for people that they are important can truly mean a lot. Even if it's just as simple as you're always very good at or thanks for thinking to do that or you've got the hang of this well. Great points at the end there. I think the culture of praising people has sadly dwindled. It's almost weird to praise people now. Everyone always thinks there is an ulterior motive or even that you're being patronizing. I'm gonna dish out more praise to people starting from now. I've had depression since I was a small child. I was put on antidepressants when I was 10. Nearly 16 years later and after trying 5 different types of medication, it still runs my life. I hate life because it isn't worth the bother. Nothing is worth the trouble and misery that being alive brings. I haven't killed myself because there are a few family members I don't think could get over it, but I feel it's the only thing that would end this. My response to people who say suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem is frick you. It's also a permanent solution to an eternal problem. Maybe some people can get past depression and recover, but for some, it's there forever. My response to people who say suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem is frick you. It's also a permanent solution to an eternal problem. That cliche phrase must have been coined by someone who never had depression. I think what helped me a lot was being there when my little sister was born. 18 years gap. To hold that little baby in my arms and watch her grow. And she was pure and innocent and her laugh. The way she tells me she loves me and that she misses me when I haven't seen her in a while. She helped me more than anyone and she doesn't even know it. I try to do one nice deed a day, as although it may not chase away the black dog of despair for long, sometimes a bit of joy is enough to make every day a good day. I'm currently 26 years old. I'd say I've had depression since I turned 20 or so. It was the worst between 22 and 23 I'd say. Back then I promised myself that if I was not cured by 25, I'd take my own life. Things were bad. I'd often find myself in the fetal position in the bathroom just crying endlessly until my whole face hurt. The only thing that kept me from taking my life was the thought of my mum, dad, brother and sisters at my funeral. I didn't want to do that to them. These days, I'm happy. I think I'll always be the type of person who gets sad or depressed far easier than other people, but I've learned how to keep on top of my emotions for the most part. I feel almost like a completely different person though. For the first time I can recognize my skills, talents and good traits. I can see that I actually am a good person, and I like being alive. How did I get from point A to point B? I tried everything during those dark years. Hypnosis, therapy, drugs, exercise, diet, sunlight, denial, positive thinking. Nothing worked. It just came flooding back. I'd feel like I was making progress, and then I'd be overwhelmed by horrible cynicism, pessimism and dread. I think the key to my recovery was twofold. One thing was that I just kept going. One of the worst things a depressed person can hear is it gets better, and my god did I want to hurt the people who said that to me. Now though, I understand that as time goes on, you gain more perspective on life. You learn new things and make discoveries that make you happy to be alive. It can take a very long time, but holding on can be one of the best things you can do. Just keep going. Be determined. Easier said than done, I know. The other thing for me, and I can feel the eyes rolling already, was mindfulness meditation and deep breathing. Our mindfulness and our meditation quite frankly saved my life. I genuinely believe that. Being mindful has helped me immensely. Being in the moment and just absorbing everything with intent is just so liberating. Instead of fearing tomorrow and regretting yesterday, you can just be. It's a fantastic feeling, and while it may not cure you, I'd recommend everyone look into mindfulness. Not just people with depression. You will benefit. That's my story. Some people react better than I did to medication and therapy. The more traditional route should definitely be explored. Even though it didn't help me, anyone with a mental health issue of any kind should take it as seriously as a physical health issue. Go see your doctor. Go see another doctor. Get help. And hold on. I got angry. A big part of my depressing was an astounding amount of self-loathing, which isn't exactly all that uncommon. But regardless, I wouldn't wish the sheer amount I had on anyone. Without a speck of hyperbole, I was constantly thinking hateful things about myself, frequently mirroring the things my childhood bullies had told me, but often inventing new ways to hate myself. Constantly. Wake up in the morning, I'm goddamn worthless, I should just lay here until I rot. Step in the shower. What's the freaking point? You can't wash away ugly. Every bite of food was a failure. Every step was a stain on the earth. Every word was an imposition, and everyone I knew was burdened by my proximity. This went on for 10 years. 10 years of one-note self-torture. I tried to kill myself twice. Once by sleeping pill overdose. Once by drowning. Both times I failed due to my weight. The pills were absorbed quickly by my advanced size, and I was buoyant enough to overcome the bricks in my jacket. It became clear that this was just what it was going to be. I would continue to feel this one thing forever, like a speaker playing a dial tone at max volume strapped to the side of my head. Even my utter despair didn't work to end things, and eventually, I just got pissed off. I got angry at the constancy, fed up with the boredom, and started acting out against it, changing little things just to have any sort of change at all. I spent a period not eating anything, just to know what it was like. I went out and just walked around. Went to any event that was on at the time, because it was a momentary distraction to the dial tone emotional state that I would know forever. And eventually the sheer weight of this person I pretended to be when I ordered beers and bummed cigarettes began to press on the person I always assumed I would be. I saw little glimpses where my emotional state would even out or just negate itself entirely. Points where I could be angry, or exhausted, or annoyed, or just nothing at all. Something different. For once, I noticed that I would think things about myself seemingly out of nowhere. I didn't want these things to pop up, but they did, and I had to spend active mental time reminding myself that this crap was automatic, and it wasn't how I wanted to think. Eventually, I was who I pretended to be. I don't think I'll ever be completely fixed. I still have decreased emotional response and decreased motivation, which are apparently hallmarks. But I've hit a sort of equilibrium where I can interact with the world, and that has to be good enough. Cognitive behavioral therapy. Realizing that I'm going to have my down days no matter what, but having the tools to deal with my issues helped tremendously. Also, being more honest about what mattered to me and not what society, family, friends wanted me to prioritize. Lifting weights. The brain had no chance to interfere me with negative thoughts when all focus was on lifting. Later I realized I had built something for me, and only me, a stronger body. This boosted my confidence and self-esteem, which pulled me even further out of the dark. Now it's all positive and forward, baby. Let's all build our own success. TLDR. Lifting weights. Throwaway. I was diagnosed with bipolar, mostly depressive episodes, several years ago when I was 19. I have been experiencing symptoms and talking on and off to therapists as long as I can remember starting puberty, but age 14 seems like a solid starting point. I have tried different medications and I can tell you that once you find the right meds for you, they work wonderfully. Antidepressants are a life changer. They don't put you on the fast track to happiness. They just make you feel more you, without the sad feelings all of the time. That being said, I just can't stick to them. Whether it's my own laziness or forgetfulness or the fact that I feel extremely uncomfortable depending on pills for my own happiness, I don't know. I am a huge advocate of them for friends suffering through similar ailments and really recommend them. I just don't like taking them myself. It is important to keep taking them even when you feel fine. Otherwise you'll dip back down, and I understand that and know I am a hypocrite, but that's always why I stop. Anyway, I started exercising and taking various classes, jiu-jitsu, self-defense, yoga, about a year and a half ago, and there is nothing in the world that is more freeing and empowering than the feeling you get after a good workout. It's so underrated. I had never been athletic or competitive in my life, but the rush of endorphins and the sense of community and respect in these sports has literally changed my life. I haven't taken pills in over 2 years, and although I do have really bad days sometimes, I always drag myself to the gym and I feel so much better afterwards. I am in the best shape of my life, more confident, more outgoing and friendly. It's changed me. I feel like I have power and control over my decisions and attitude, which translates into my career and friendships. I can easily remove negative relationships from my life and focus more on quality, whether that be friendships, relationships, or work. I am kind of going on a tangent. TLDR. I guess what I am trying to say to answer your question is it never goes away, you never recover. It's always going to be a part of you and your chemical balance. You will still have bad days, but there are a lot of healthy ways you can suppress those bad feelings and replace them with positive ones to help you live a happy and successful life. They just make you feel more you, without the sad feelings all of the time. I'm not on antidepressants at the moment. I've only been going to therapy for a couple of weeks now, but that kind of sums up depression anxiety for me. It feels like I'm not me, like my brain is completely contradicting who I actually am. I want to do one thing but my brain makes me do something else. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.